Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Zone Coverage. I'm Cody Schoeler here with Ryan Root, as always, ready to talk about some NFL action and what went down over the weekend. And so, let's just get straight on into this. Ryan, what is, the biggest thing you're taking from this weekend?
The biggest thing I'm taking from this weekend, and you may probably already know where I'm going with this, but I'll just say it, Cody. I think the Bills got screwed out of a win yesterday against Tampa Bay. There were some questionable no calls and some questionable calls at the end of the game. It was a thrilling comeback from Buffalo. I got to give them credit, but also, Tom Brady with the game-winning touchdown in overtime. That was a great play as well. But the Stephon Diggs, tie up in the end zone on the final play of regulation before the tying field goal, I should say. Should have been PI, man. Should have been PI. The Bills should have a win here, but they don't.
You know what I thought was a questionable call?
What's that?
Actually, a lot of questionable calls. Not handing the ball off once in the first half.
Sure.
There's some games you play where it's just
their weird way of coping with last week. Who knows? But
it didn't work. And I'm glad that we don't see these guys getting thrown on every end zone play. They both initiated contact.
But they were calling it all game. And then when the game matters, they especially weren't calling it. If Sean McDermott was able to challenge that call in the end zone with Stephon Diggs, I would have thrown the challenge flag in a heartbeat, but you can't do it in the final 2 minutes is the thing. And, and then the PI against the Bills in overtime was questionable. I feel like the officiating kind of decided this game. Luckily for the Bills, they still have the 7th seed, barely, because they're in a 4 or 5 way tie with a bunch of other teams that are 7 and 6.
A lot of 7 and 6, yeah.
So fortunately they still have a playoff spot, but this was a game that I think they needed to win and that they could have won, and they should have won.
At the end of the day, they won the coin toss in overtime. They had the ball, and what they do,
That's true. And there was a questionable call on the 3rd down as well. I'm just saying, a questionable no call, I should say. I think the Bills had enough momentum to win this game, and the officiating just kind of stomped it out. The Bills were going to win this game, I think, if there were at least one of those calls made. I'll stand by that. Also, but like I said, I have to hand it off to Tom Brady for the game-winning play because, you can't really, say too much against that when it's a 10, 15-yard pass and it goes all the way down the field. You can't really say too much.
But if you're in a place where you're needing pass interference calls to win the game, you should maybe do something that's not a fade to the end zone. I feel like 50% of that is trying to get
the play call. I thought was a little strange for sure because it seemed like it didn't even seem like the line was ready. Yeah,
look what the Packers, they ran, not that the game was on the line, but they ran a slant to Devontae Adams, got him open, actually threw a fade, yeah, it works, but a lot of times I think you're hoping for a pass interference call. I just think, there's other stuff they could have done. And yeah,
there has to be a clear mismatch too, and there just wasn't.
There's always going to be weird calls, but you're the Bills, you should be at a point where you're keeping the game in your own hands and you don't need the refs to make those calls for you to win. But I've talked about my concerns for the Bills. We're looking at a point. They play the Patriots again. I think, is it this upcoming week? Or no, the week after that.
Carolina, I want to say, and then they play.
Not this week.
Right.
Not this week, but we're looking at.
Yeah.
Let me pull it up. How many teams? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 teams at 7 and 6. 2 of those teams could, win the rest of their games, and the Bills lose just 1. They're out. I still probably think they make it, but actually no. This is the part of this not updated, but yeah. It's not the best place for them. They should be, in a better place. But even still, this Bills team isn't supposed to be a team that gets down 24-3. They're supposed to be a team that's competing with these teams like the Buccaneers. So, regardless, it's not even if they do get into the playoffs, I think there's a lot of issues that they're dealing with there. Meanwhile, it was the Bears. So what all can you say? Our Packers, they continue to just keep winning. They continue to look really good. And, I think they could be set up to do something. The defense, again, stepped up. Obviously, gave up a bit, and some special teams they gave up. First punt return touchdown on the season for anybody in the NFL. So shout out Jakeem Grant. 6. They struggled. That second quarter was like 45 points combined, which you wouldn't have expected from that game. But the Packers then went and, down the stretch, did what they have to do, put the game away. That's all you can do. I believe they have a pretty winnable schedule down the stretch. So, see, between the Bucks, the Packers, and the Cardinals, it's up for grabs.
Yeah, I was definitely surprised to see Chicago put up 30 against Green Bay. I give them credit for putting up a fight at least, but when you turn over the ball three times in total for Justin Fields, the rookie mistakes and it's just kind of growing pains, but Aaron Rodgers still owns this team, just like he said, 4 total passing touchdowns, 2 to Devontae Adams. So, I still think that this is the best team in the NFC going forward. Although I'd love to say the Bucks, I think the Packers would maybe beat them by double digits if they played right now. Which, more on the Green Bay Packers in a little bit. What I want to say also is the one game that I had to point out here. Yeah. Kansas City against Oakland, I can get away with calling them Oakland after this game. 48-9. Kansas City just basically ruins all of the Raiders' playoff hopes in this one game. Anybody who's still doubting Kansas City or still thinks, they're kind of walking on eggshells or this or that, they're 9-4 right now. They're leading the AFC West. They're almost one of the top. They're almost the number 1 seed in the AFC, other than the Patriots.
Yeah,
48 points.
They're tied. The Patriots, the Titans, and the Chiefs all have the same record atop the division. And I believe with the way the tiebreakers are, the Patriots are up there. But the Chiefs they're back up there where they belong.
It's 48 points, and Patrick Mahomes only had 2 touchdowns. He didn't even surpass 300 yards passing.
It was the defense.
It was the defense. There's 3 total touchdowns from the ground with Derek Gore and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Neither of them got over 100 yards rushing. They barely got over 100 yards combined.
The Gore one was
they just took advantage of their opportunities.
The Gore one was like a garbage time breakaway one when the game was already put away. But the Chiefs didn't have to rack up the yardage. They were able to get the touchdowns.
Right, this wasn't even
putting them in good positions.
This wasn't even textbook Chiefs. This was just a football team playing the game. This would look like an insane game from like 10, 15 years ago with 258 yards passing. No interceptions, but 2 touchdowns, great rushing, stats. But the Chiefs can now win games without Patty Holmes putting up 350, 400 yards. Obviously they can win games.
They've been doing that lately.
Right. I can trust the Kansas City Chiefs to take out pretty much almost every team in the NFL at this point, give or take probably about 4 or 5, the teams like, Green Bay, Tampa Bay, even I think the Patriots would give them a run for their money. But I still think, the Kansas City Chiefs have rebuilt their momentum and some with this game. And the Raiders, they had a great start of the season. There was a lot of hope for them. But with all of the drama they've had to face, I give them props for achieving as many wins as they have up to this point with, losing the amount of personnel and coaching staff that they've had. But the Raiders, I thought this was going to be a potential year for them to make a wild card. It's going to be on to the next season with this one because I think it's too little too late for them.
Yeah, this was kind of the game that got the Chiefs right a few weeks ago when they throttled the Raiders. They did it again. We talked about that. Maybe something just clicks against them. There's obviously a little bit of, interdivision animosity with them kind of poking fun at each other, and the Raiders were kind of huddling on their logo.
The Raiders can't talk any trash until No, they
No,
can't
not
talk
at
any
all.
trash before next year's game against Kansas City. I mean, the fact that they just got absolutely embarrassed for taunting on the Kansas City logo before the game. I mean, you can't defend yourself at that point, Raiders. I
Yeah,
mean,
not good.
you almost get
But
40.
I mean, yeah, I mean the Chiefs are winning with defense now, and yeah, it's the Raiders. It's not the best team, but it's also not the worst team. And so this defense has started to make plays, and that's all they needed. The Chiefs just needed an average defense. The reason they were losing at the start of the year is because their defense was the worst in the league. That's not the case anymore. So as long as they can keep this up, I mean, this is the recipe, and they're gonna. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is back, healthy. Obviously, you've got Hill and Kelsey, Hardman getting involved. Josh Gordon caught a touchdown for the first time since 2019, I think. So, I mean, they're dangerous. I'm not saying they're going to beat and for sure any of these other top teams you mentioned, but they're now back in the conversation. And this was a year we were thinking, oh no, what if they don't win the division? What if they don't make the playoffs? What if they're, done? Oh no, this huge contract for Patrick Mahomes is a waste. He throws all these interceptions. But, that was a week ago. We're back where we thought we were going to be, and the Chiefs are one of the most dangerous teams. A few teams I want to give you the option to talk about. Playoff teams, of course. We've got
I really had a thing or
Cowboys.
two to say about the Jaguars. I'm mad now. Dang.
Cowboys, Ravens, Chargers, or 49ers. Pick your poison, and we'll talk about that game. Because those, I think, are four very...
The Cowboys, Ravens, 49ers, and who else?
Chargers.
The Chargers. I'll take the Chargers, man. I mean...
Chargers? Yeah. I mean...
Chargers taking out the Giants. I wasn't expecting them to have that big of a game. I mean, they're 8-5, but it's weird to keep telling myself that they're 8-5 because, pretty much everybody and their mother had huge expectations for this team in the offseason. And although they didn't meet the expectations out the gate, this is easily becoming a very solid wild card team. They're only a win behind Kansas City. Luckily, they got that win over them earlier in the season.
Yeah,
and
they'll have to play
I can't
each
remember
other
if they
again.
play it a second time or if they have to play them a second time.
I don't believe they've played yet a second time.
Yeah, I mean, you got to tip your cap to the Chargers because, I mean, it's not like they're on an insane winning streak, but they're just consistent. I mean, they have a very winnable schedule to finish out the year. Next week they play Kansas City, literally 4 days from now, Thursday Night Football. And then they got Houston, Denver, and Vegas. All three of those games are winnable. The Chargers, if they win on Thursday, would be the AFC West champions for the first time in I don't know how long, but
I have 2000 and I don't know, whatever.
Has it really been since
that's
the last time that they've won it?
No, there was one year
I
they
want
went
to say
like
there was a Phillip Rivers year in like the late 2000s or something, maybe.
Yeah, there was a year they went 13-3 or 14-2, and he played with like a torn ACL in the playoffs.
I think that year was like 2006 when they went like 14-2. I think that was like
the last time they won the division was 2009, 13-3.
Okay. Hey, I got that on the dot. Let's go.
2006 was 14-2. Yeah, so it's
been a decade. It's been a decade since they've won this division. And I mean, Justin Herbert, we're going to see what he's like in the playoffs. I will say it now. I think this team is pretty much a lock for the playoffs, even though that they are a wild card. Obviously, like you have teams like Green Bay and Tampa Bay and New England, Kansas City that are for sure playoff teams. But even as a wild card, I'm confident in the Chargers.
I don't think anybody has officially. Yeah, nobody's officially locked up a spot.
No, we now have. We've had it. We would have at least one.
If there was the Buccaneers could have clinched the division with, I believe, a Saints loss, and the Packers also could have clinched a playoff spot with some teams losing. So that hasn't happened. We'll, obviously be looking for those scenarios next week. But the Lions, the Texans, the Jaguars, and the Jets are all out of playoff contention. So, sad sad day for all of those fan bases. But the Bears and the Giants still technically involved. But yeah, the Chargers, I mean, they went out and they, it's what you have to do against teams like the Giants at this point in the season. You need to get those wins because, losses could trip you up. And if you've got a favorable matchup, you need to take advantage of that. That's exactly what they did. Justin Herbert is, playing incredibly well down the stretch. He didn't have Keenan Allen, I believe. Yeah, Mike Williams, I think, was playing, but he's throwing to Jalen Guyton and Josh Palmer. So, yeah, I mean, the Chargers, they look pretty good in that playoff spot. Obviously, huge game this week against the Chiefs. But, I mean, right now, I've got the 7 AFC teams, right? I just want to tip my hat to that. But, yeah, I mean, we'll see. I want to talk about the Bengals and the 49ers. That was the game we talked about as like a nice little mid-tier game, 2 playoff wildcard teams, dueling it out. Great. I mean, we had simultaneous like overtime games with them and the Bucks and the Bills, but that ended up being a big win for the 49ers and a really tough loss for the Bengals because, like I talked about, and the reason why I thought they might slip out of the playoff picture, which they have done now, is because their schedule was really tough, and the Niners game might have actually been the easiest game of what they have left. They might have a Raiders game, and it depends on how you view the Steelers or the Browns, but they need to get all the wins they can get. They've now lost back-to-back to the Chargers and the Niners, which are similar, place teams. So it's a good year for the Bengals, but, they might be struggling while the Niners are looking like, I mean, somebody's got to lock up that 6th spot, the second wild card, and they are the team in it right now with a 7-6 record.
Yeah, I mean, I think I predicted Cincinnati to win that game. Just looking at 2 teams because I feel like San Fran has to be probably the worst team with an over 500 record, in my opinion. I don't think they have I don't think they have a shot at all in the playoffs to win a game. But they're in the
sure, but neither do some of these other teams.
I mean, could they think about who they're going to play in the first round? It's either going to be Arizona or not Arizona. It's not going to be the number 1 seed, so it'd either be Green Bay, Tampa Bay, or Dallas in the first round. If one of those teams takes over for the first, then you got Arizona there. They're not beating any of those teams. But if I look at Cincinnati, if Cincinnati was in the wild card right now, they'd be playing either Tennessee, Kansas City, Baltimore, or New England.
San Francisco just beat Cincinnati.
I know they just beat Cincinnati. They beat them in overtime. So Cincinnati also didn't have any.
I think San Francisco.
It's not like they played bad.
I think San Francisco's a better team than them, and that better
100%
disagree. The Broncos.
I'm never going to put my faith in Jimmy Garoppolo. I'll say it every day until the day I die.
You think the Browns and the Broncos are better than the 49ers right now?
Do I think the Browns and Broncos are? I mean, the Browns I would consider better than the Niners. The Broncos I'd probably say are a little worse.
The Niners have Jimmy Garoppolo is not the greatest quarterback, but that offense looks good when he's at the helm. I mean, they've got weapons. The defense is, solid with a lot of good pieces. And, I mean, we've got Deebo Samuel and George Kittle playing 2 of probably the 10 best offensive players in the league right now. And, I mean, it's all about being hot. And they have, they've beat the Rams very handily. They've, now they beat the Bengals. They have good wins. I don't think they're going to make some noise, but I don't see them as much different than some of these other AFC wildcard teams like, the Chargers and the Bengals and the Colts and whatever. I think they're, I think they're on that same level.
I mean, if I'm looking at the Niners schedule throughout the year, week 1 win against Detroit, that was almost a comeback win from Detroit. We all remember that game. Barely beat out Philadelphia week 2, and then they go on a 4-game losing streak with one of those games being against Seattle, and the other 3 being against playoff teams: Green Bay, Arizona, Indianapolis, all losses. Then they finally win on Halloween in Chicago, not a playoff team.
You don't need to look at the start of the year, if you want to look at the start of the year, then the Bills were the best team in the
I'll
league,
look
and the
recently
Chiefs were.
too. They lost to Seattle last week. If you're losing to the
Yeah.
Seahawks right now, there's an issue. Like if this is a team that's better than Seattle right now, which honestly I do think this is a better team than Seattle, they still lost. Yes, they were on the road. Yes, Seattle can win if they really put all their heads together, but they lost to Seattle and they got a 20-point win over Jacksonville. Cool. They almost lost. They almost lost to Minnesota, and they had a very big surprise win against LA. They, as far as I'm concerned, with the wins that they have, only one of these wins are impressive, other than Cincinnati, I guess. So 2 of these wins mean something. Everything else, they've beaten garbage teams. Garbage teams. This is not a playoff team. If they played any of the division winners in the first round, they're not going to stand a chance. There's just no way.
Yeah, but I mean, you could say that for, most of the teams in the wild card spot in both leagues. I mean, there's, especially in the NFC, because the NFC has 3 of the, 5 best teams. So
yeah, they have only 3 teams with double-digit wins right now.
Yeah, I mean, anybody playing the Packers. I mean, give me any AFC wildcard team, and I would, playing the Packers, other than the Colts, who are, really hot right now. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously it's a tough spot, but, we'll see what happens. But they certainly deserve that wildcard spot when you look at who else is there. I mean, these other teams don't deserve it. They have bad. It's a very top-heavy NFC. I want to talk about the Ravens and the Browns real quickly because we've kind of written off the Browns, kind of have it. I mean, they are now in the 8th spot, same record as the Bills and the Colts. They just beat the Ravens, so now they're at 1 game back from the division lead even. Same with the Bengals. So, it wasn't a great win for them because they let the Ravens almost come back and, ended up not even covering, which is funny because the line was 2.5. But, they got the win. Obviously, Lamar Jackson left the game with an injury. Who knows how long that could be? But if he's out for an extended period of time, it really opens up that division. So, there could be, something there.
Yeah, if Lamar Jackson is gone for the rest of the year, then we can write off Baltimore. It didn't look too severe. Sure, yeah. He was carted off, but we're just waiting for a headline either today or tomorrow to see what he's going to be like. But
yeah, I think I got he avoids a high ankle sprain. So obviously they're not saying everything, but I doubt it's like season ending or multi-weeks. The Ravens do play the Packers this week, which we'll talk about on Thursday. But so they could lose that game and shit. It opens up the division. Even the Steelers are creeping around there with their, with their weird tie. But I think it just goes to show the Browns. I still am out on the Browns. I don't think they make the playoffs, and I think they might be the least dangerous of these like almost wild card teams in either division because I just don't see Baker Mayfield with his like health right now winning a playoff game. But obviously they got the big win, but we'll see what happens with the Ravens because this was a team that was sitting, pretty good. You thought they could be a number 1 seed. I think I had them as third, maybe second or third,
2 or 3. Yeah, because you picked Chiefs.
Yeah, I had them. I know I had them at one of those spots. I thought they would lock up the division, and now it's not looking, with back-to-back division losses, it's not looking very good for them. And now they've got to play one of those teams that, not a lot of teams we think could beat. So we'll see how that goes. What was the last one I want to talk about before we move on?
Well, I just wanted to say real quick about the Ravens. I don't want to say this is irresponsible of them, but this is very, lazy of them to lose these games that should have been wins. They're obviously a better team than Pittsburgh. They're a better team than Cleveland. And the fact that they lost both those games, they're only a win ahead of Cleveland and Cincinnati. They got Green Bay this next week, Cincinnati, LA, and Pittsburgh. So all 4 of these teams.
LA who?
The Rams.
Chargers?
Sorry.
Rams?
Yeah.
Shit.
So the Packers, they could easily lose to, and I think they would. The Rams could be a toss-up, but Cincy, I don't know what could happen. That could go either way, but we've seen them lose to Pittsburgh. We've seen them lose to Cleveland, and we've seen them lose to Cincy as well. They do not have a good divisional performance this year. They're going to have to prey on the overall record, and them getting a better overall record to finish out the year, it doesn't look great when you got to play Green Bay and the Rams.
Yeah. I mean, that also might suggest that their division wins are coming. They end up splitting with Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. Now, splitting with all three because they've already played the Browns. Looking at 3-3, I mean, that you're squeaking that out.
This was a team I was just going to say, like, the Ravens had Lamar Jackson in the MVP conversation the first half of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, this was Lamar Jackson carrying the team for well over 5-6 games. But now, they are a beatable team. They even lost to Miami. They got balled out with Cincinnati. I mean, these losses, obviously they have a favorable record, and 8-5 is a good record, but those 5 losses, each of them stick out. It's not like, if you're Arizona or Green Bay where, 1 or 2 of those losses stick out, or if any. Every single one of these Ravens losses stick out. Maybe not the Raiders one week 1, but I mean, I still have them going to the playoffs. I still think this is a team that could win 1 or 2 playoff games. But they need to get their act together to finish out the year.
Yeah. I mean, they've shown us at times this year that they can be a very dangerous team. They just have to get back to that. And the injuries, I mean, obviously are piling up. They showed a graphic during their game of like 8 players that they've lost for the season. Handful of them were starters, are supposed to be starters and pretty good. So,
that's true.
Things pile up. They're going to need guys step up. Yeah, it's been because so many of those happened at the start of the year, happened months ago. But yeah, last thing I want to talk about before we move on is the Cowboys. For 3 quarters looked really good. Then they let Washington creep back into this game. I believe that if Taylor Heineke was in on that last drive, there could have been maybe some magic from my boy, but it's a good win. They've distanced themselves. They've probably damn near locked up the division. They probably have a game against the Giants coming up. Just need to win 1 more to probably lock it up. But I mean, not inspiring confidence when you're going to compare them to the other, top of the division teams, especially in the NFC, a group that they at one point in the season were in. They were in that top 5 or 6 teams, but now it seems like they are the odd man out. And you get that 4th seed in the NFC. You're playing likely the Rams, possibly the Cardinals, depending on how that division shakes out. That's not the matchup you want when you're looking at those other 2 wild card spots. So this is, not what Dallas wanted to be doing at this point in the season.
No, considering they're one of the top rushing teams in the league with Tony Pollard and Zeke Elliott. No scores through the ground at all. Neither of them getting over.
Pollard was out.
But Zeke,
and I think Zeke
only 45 yards. Up. I mean, sure. I mean, he always seems to have at least something going on. They went through a ton of different people running the ball, not including, Dak Prescott. But Dak Prescott, I mean, everything fell onto him to get it done through the air, only getting 1 touchdown and 2 picks. I mean, Dak Prescott.
Pick 6 with 4 minutes left. And they had a 13-point lead. All they need to do is put a drive together to, keep the game in hand, and he throws a pick 6. That's not what you want to be doing.
I know. And I mean, Greg Zuerlein must have had a great workout that game because he probably should have been the MVP of this game if that even matters anymore nowadays. But Dak Prescott, I've said before, Dak Prescott is one of those quarterbacks who could easily blow up for 450 yards on any given game. He is just one of those quarterbacks alongside with Patty Holmes, Josh Allen. I could think of some others, but Dak Prescott, I see it. At this point. Yeah, I mean, I see a stat line like this against Washington, and Washington has been lackluster to say the least this year, and they are still in the wild card conversation to this point. Just goes to show how gritty this team is, and you can't even put up multiple scores or have a positive touchdown interception ratio. I mean, it's a bad game for Dak if I look at it. I don't think that this is season worrying for them. They got the win at the end of the day. I can't look at this and be
it's not.
This was terrible,
It's
but
not
it could have been worse.
But this is a team that at a time and probably is a team that it was like, oh, they could win the Super Bowl. Like they've got the defense to go along with the offense.
I thought they were the most quiet, best team in the league.
And like Dak, a lot of guys have been in the MVP discussion at this point, but it was wide open at a time where Dak had the opportunity to take it. And now to look at where they are, where you look at the other teams, we talked about the Packers, we talked about the Bucs, we talked about the Chiefs. These are teams in similar positions, and they're winning much more convincingly. So, it is tough. Obviously, you just need to get it right for the playoffs, and hopefully they get healthy. But, especially like that fourth seed is going to be very dangerous in the NFC because of who you'll have to play in that first round. But we're going to move on into a little end of season awards prediction. We talked about this last week and kind of doing this. We've talked about MVP from time to time throughout the season, but it seems to be getting a little decided, maybe, sort of. So
do you want to
not as
start
much
from
to talk about there.
Do you want to start from maybe the bottom up and we can end with MVP, considering that's obvious,
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I just want to say, I don't think we need to talk about our 5 MVP candidates anymore because it's probably down to about 2. So we'll talk about some other awards, give them some love. So you want to start with Coach of the Year?
Yeah, because this one I'm not entirely sure the direction they could go with. So I picked.
Yeah, go for it.
I picked Matt LaFleur from Green Bay, which I think he has a solid campaign to do so. I don't think he won it last year. I can't remember who won Coach of the Year last year. I have no idea. Maybe it was Bruce Arians.
I don't think so. Here, I'm pulling it up. It might have been. He feels like he's won it at some point. Come on. Okay. Well, keep talking and then I will.
So it was for me, it was between Matt LaFleur and Bill Belichick. But my thought
Bill Belichick
was
I'll say Bill Belichick's the favorite right now.
Yeah.
He's the favorite on FanDuel. Right.
I just don't know if they're going to give the award to him, considering he's already the best coach of all time. What's another award to give to him? But he only has 3. Is 3? I thought he would only have 2. You could give it to him damn near every year he's been in the league. He's just that kind of coach.
Yeah, it's the same with Tom Brady and the MVP. But
right.
If I'm looking through it, Don Shula has the most at 4. Chuck Knox has 3. So Belichick is obviously he's incredibly good. But
he should be number 1 all time in Coach of the Year awards. So that could help his case. It was between Belichick or LaFleur for me. I like your pick as well. I'll let you talk about that in a sec. I just think Matt LaFleur. Every single time that the Packers start a season, at least recently, something's going on with Aaron Rodgers, with the team, with Aaron Rodgers' meditation routine up in the Himalayas or whatever he's doing for the vaccine. There's all this drama surrounding Green Bay at the start of every year, but then there's Green Bay at the top of the standings every single year with Aaron Rodgers leading the charge. But I do think you have to tip your cap to Matt LaFleur because, sure, he probably lets Aaron Rodgers kind of run the show for the most part, but this isn't like a LeBron James, Tyronn Lue situation where it's like LeBron James will just take over and you sit there and
like a David Blatt situation.
Or a David Blatt situation, yeah, or Mike Brown, It's not a situation like that. Matt LaFleur is a very, very smart coach, and him and Aaron Rodgers, I do think, have a great relationship as a quarterback and coach. I have to give him credit at least one of these years. I think this might be one of his best chances to get Coach of the Year. I think he's definitely a Coach of the Year candidate, and this is,
Yeah, the odds, just looking on FanDuel, Bill Belichick is the favorite out of these, we're going to talk about 1, 2, 3. We're going to talk about 7 awards. 7 awards, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I believe 4 of them have minus odds. So very heavy favorites. Some a lot more heavier than others, but this is one of the ones without that. Bill Belichick is first. Matt LaFleur has the 3rd best odds, so he's definitely up there in the conversation. It's time to start talking him as one of the best coaches in the NFL. He's setting, a bunch of records for wins in his first however many games. He's got the potential to break the record for wins in the first 4 seasons, I believe. George Seifert has that. So, it's time to start putting him in that upper echelon. Obviously, he doesn't have the hardware that some other guys have, but, that could come with time. But my guy I want to talk about is second, sitting in between those, and that's Cliff Kingsbury. I think the biggest thing with him is just that, he lost Kyler Murray for about a month and is still on track to have the best record in the NFL. And to me, that is really impressive. It's similar to the thing with the Patriots where, they weren't expected to be as good as they are, and here they are now. I mean, the Cardinals were supposed to finish in the division, maybe make the playoffs if somehow all 4 teams from one division could get in, and now they're running away with the division. So I think that is huge. I mean, it's funny that this is a dude who got, fired from college, was 6-6 record, and now he's got this, record in the NFL. I think, people like that story of the young guy kind of stepping up. I looked and saw last year was Kevin Stefanski, who was very good. And then year before that was John Harbaugh for his Lamar Jackson stuff. But then Matt Nagy, Sean McVay, those were some, kind of bursting onto the scene guys. And
Coach of the Year winner. Good Lord.
Yeah, he's not going to get fired. But I think, Cliff Kingsbury or Matt LaFleur, for that matter, could kind of be in that same category of the guy kind of stepping up, earning that award. But Bill Belichick's the favorite, and I think, Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, winning Coach of the Year and MVP would be funny. There's a lot of stuff going on with them for sure. We can move on. I mean, this one doesn't really need a much explanation. I talked about the heavy favorites that are out there. I believe he's not the heaviest of favorites, but Dak Prescott for Comeback Player of the Year. This was all but decided at the start of the season.
Before
this
a
is
game,
a more narrative award than anything. Joe Burrow was close. I mean, obviously last year
that was someone I was trying to think of. Okay,
yeah, Joe Burrow is close. Carson Wentz behind him. Nick Bosa, Derwin James, only odds that are listed. Christian McCaffrey was a candidate for a while, but I mean, can Derrick Henry come back with 2 weeks left, rush for 600 yards, and be
Can someone win Comeback Player of the Year within the same year? Like it's a comeback from the beginning of the year to the end of the year.
Who knows? Maybe we'll see. But I mean, Dak's gonna win it. He was gonna win it before. Other than Alex Smith last year being like, all he needs to do is step on the field once and he's gonna win it. This seems about as locked up.
Yeah,
as it can be.
I was trying to think of another player that could maybe contend for this, and the only people that were coming to mind were Christian McCaffrey and Nick Bosa, but totally forgot about Joe Burrow. That would have been definitely. He would have definitely had a chance if Joe Burrow was having, an all-pro type season, I think. But since Dak Prescott, I mean, this is a story award. It really is. I mean, it's not like, I haven't even looked at Dak Prescott's stats compared to Joe Burrow. I'm sure they're probably really close, with maybe Joe Burrow having a little bit more. Yeah, they're like neck and neck. Joe Burrow's
and Dak missed a game or two.
Oh, so I mean, so yeah, then it's definitely Dak at that point. I mean, if Joe Burrow has played every game, which I think he has, he's already surpassed the games that he played last year. That's the thing. Joe Burrow played the majority of the year last year. So, I mean, if it was a thing like Dak where he got injured, week 4, week 5, like,
for
this
sure.
is Dak's.
Yeah, this is going to Dak, for sure. So let's move on to, I don't know if this is in the same order on the thing. Yeah, it is. The other very heavy, I mean, this is the heaviest favorite of them all.
There is no argument against this. There's no
minus
argument.
$25,000. Another Cowboy, Micah Parsons, for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Micah Parsons is now in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. I mean, he probably won't win it because there's a way to honor him without giving him that award. But you talked about Greg Zuerlein as the MVP yesterday. I think Micah Parsons was the MVP. 2 sacks, a forced fumble. He almost had an interception. I mean, he is insane. Rookie linebacker, inside linebacker, who has broke the Cowboys record for sacks in a season. He is 7th in the NFL in sacks. I mean, it is incredible what he is doing as a rookie. And he didn't even play last year. He opted out of the season. So, I mean, it's just insane what he's doing. He is one of the best defensive players in the league, easily, the rookie.
Yeah,
want to give a shout out to Pat Surtain at second place.
Yeah, I was trying to think of the other defensive rookies, and I was like, well, J.C. Horn isn't playing great. I haven't heard a lot from Pat Surtain and whatever the.
He got a pick 6 a few weeks ago.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of the SoCar corner. Is that still J.C. Horn? I thought there was another big corner.
That was Horn, yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
No. I mean, Greg Newsome.
Okay. And there wasn't a huge edge rusher picked in the top 10.
No. Jalen Phillips has come on strong lately with a lot of sacks, but it's not happening. I mean,
this is
Jason Owe is third on the odds, and then Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is up there. But yeah, this is Parsons. I mean, Surtain's probably doing enough to win it in most other years when you don't have an all-timer rookie.
Yeah.
I mean, he's threatening to break the rookie sack record, which was set by Javon Curse, who's one of the best defensive ends of all time. And again, Micah Parsons is a linebacker, middle linebacker. I mean, he's played all over, but middle linebacker. I mean, yeah, he's a freak. He's going to run away with this award.
What he's doing this year is what I wanted that Cardinals linebacker to do. I'm trying to remember.
Isaiah Simmons.
Yeah,
it's what Isaiah Simmons should have done.
Yeah. This is definitely
for sure.
his award. I mean, do we want to talk about the offensive side of the award? Because I think this is even more.
Let's go to that. I mean, it's another minus odds favorite. Not nearly as heavy. But, yeah, offensive rookie of the year. I mean, you're going to be weighing numbers, and, it's Mac Jones, offensive rookie of the year. Not going to have the greatest numbers, but he's having an incredible season. If you're going to get indoctrinated by stats, you'll go for, Jamar Chase or even, Jalen Waddle has a bunch of receptions. Not that they deserve it, but.
The only people saying Jamar Chase for offensive rookie of the year are Bengals fans. Those are the only people.
Well, or people who are
mad about Justin Jefferson not winning it last year. Those are the only people that are saying Jamar people that bet on Jamar Chase to win it early in the year when he was a runaway favorite. It sucks. He looks like he's going to have an all-time rookie receiving year. And just not similar to Justin Jefferson. Both guys are going to have incredible careers. They're really talented, but it's a quarterback league. And it's a quarterback league, but you have to look at the story that goes alongside it. I mean, Justin Herbert was literally I know I've said this in the past, but every single draft when there's all these quarterbacks that are, rumored to be taken in the first round or, there's all these quarterbacks that people love to praise, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance. And then there's that one quarterback that people love to nitpick at, and that was Justin Fields. It wasn't totally Mac Jones. It was mostly Justin Fields. And last year, Tua is going to be great. Joe Burrow is going to be great. Oh, but Justin Herbert, he's overrated. I can't believe Justin Herbert's this high. And then Justin Herbert has the year that he has. Everybody knows that Justin Jefferson was going to come into the league and be a problem. I mean,
not the Eagles.
LSU's championship team.
Not the Eagles because they picked Jalen Reagor one pick.
Sure, not the Eagles. We can never count on the Eagles on draft night. But, even Jalen Hurts, when he was picked, people were like, what the hell are they doing? And Jalen Hurts is playing great for fantasy owners. But the point is, Mac Jones, this is the story that's following him. He was going to be Tom Brady's replacement.
Mhm.
And people were like, oh, well, he'll probably play pretty good, but Trevor Lawrence is probably going to win the award, or like, Trey Lance is maybe going to start and maybe win, or this or that. I mean, everybody was counting Mac Jones out. I mean, I'd like to see the odds for him winning the award at the very beginning of the year, because
I thought Kyle Pitts was going to win the award because I thought the Falcons were going to be much better, and he's having an all-time tight end year too. But I mean, I think the
probably
thing
not a
we
high
can't
bar to surpass, but
no, it's not a very high bar, but still, I think what we can't forget is that Jamar Chase also lost this award. Since that game that he had 200 yards, he had a good game this past week, but he had like 3 or 4 games where he wasn't even hitting 50 yards. Mm-hmm. If he kept the pace he was on up, he could still win this award because, like I said, Mac Jones doesn't have incredible stats.
Does he have better stats than Justin Jefferson did at this point from last year?
I don't know if he does now, but he was on pace too at a time. Justin Jefferson ended the year really, really hot. Started out kind of slow, kind of the inverse of them. But I mean, Justin Herbert beat Justin Jefferson because he demolished the rookie touchdown record. Mac Jones is going to touch that. He just played a game where he threw 3 passes. So just Jamar Chase, lost this award as much as Mac Jones won it. Kind of thing, because Mac Jones isn't breaking any rookie records. He's just doing exactly what he had to do. And I would like
to run the ball.
Go back to my 49ers should have taken Mac Jones. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I guess so. Just imagine Trey Lance being on that Patriots team. Just imagine that.
Just imagine Mac Jones on this Niners team. Do you want to go offensive or defensive player of the year?
We got to go offensive first, because
both of which we disagree on. I disagreed with you. I disagreed with you on offensive player of the year, mainly for the sake of disagreeing, because I think, these are the 2 guys that have a chance. I'm hoping this doesn't seem like a year where it goes to a quarterback. I hate when it goes to the same guy who wins MVP. I think that's so stupid. But Jonathan Taylor and Cooper Kupp are the 2 runaway favorites of the award right now. The next closest guy is Devontae Adams and Debo
Samuel. How far off is Derrick Henry from the odds? I'm curious. He still has to be on the list, even though he's not going to play in the remainder of the regular season.
Well, they removed him because you can't just take him from minus whatever odds to just plus. That's just gonna. So he's just off the list. They probably don't want to get burned on that.
They're counting him out, but whatever.
But I mean, my guess is Jonathan Taylor still. He probably wins this because of the way it's going. He's carrying, at the end of the year, and coming out strong. We'll see. Cooper Kupp has a chance tonight to, have a big game, but he's leading yards and tied for touchdowns. Slim leads in all of them, but he's got a game to play tonight. But yeah, I think it's interesting to see to hopefully see a receiver.
Yeah, when's the last time a receiver won it? Because it's usually a quarterback or a running back.
Yeah, you talk about Jonathan Taylor while I looked that up.
So the only reason I picked Jonathan Taylor over Kupp is barely the best receiver in the league, is what it is. He is leading in.
How did I not know this?
Who was it? I was thinking Antonio Brown maybe, but
it was Michael Thomas when he broke the receptions record.
Oh yeah.
And before that, it wasn't. Before that, it was 1993 Jerry Rice. So it's not a receiver award.
Oh my gosh! Wow. So that being said, Cooper Kupp is not going to win at that.
Jerry Rice and Michael Thomas are the only receivers to ever win the award. So that's making me feel good. But a lot of times
makes Michael Thomas's
a lot of times it's
stick out like a sore thumb. Then that's bad.
A lot of times it has gone to the MVP and to the quarterback. So it's kind of dumb because there has been some years where a receiver, Antonio Brown, Calvin Johnson. The fact that
I'm surprised Megatron isn't
there because most of the time they give it to the guy who also wins MVP, which is stupid. But
there should be a rule against that, man.
Yeah, it should be. But the only thing I think, Jonathan Taylor, we all know if Derrick Henry was still going, he would be better than Jonathan Taylor. He's doing a Derrick Henry light. So that's my only thing is like Cooper Kupp is doing his own thing, kind of. If Jonathan Taylor continues to carry the way he's, going down the stretch, it could definitely go to him, especially as the Rams are kind of losing some steam. But, this is a big game for Kupp, prime time, Monday night game going against the Cardinals. If he has a big game, it could swing it in his favor. But, yeah, it's certainly down to those two guys.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor. I just saw 16 total rushing touchdowns, and I was like, you got to give him. He's definitely having an insane year. Another one we disagree on is Defensive Player of the Year. It's also – I will say, Micah Parsons has now got himself into the conversation. He has the same odds as the guy you have chosen, who's right behind my guy. Really?
Before we talk about our two guys who shouldn't be any surprise, I want to mention some guys on the periphery. Trevon Diggs, Matt Judon, Nick Bosa.
That was my second pick was Judon.
Yeah, J.C. Jackson is, if it wasn't for Trevon Diggs, would be having an outstanding, league-leading year for corners. Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey are there every year. Darius Leonard, Kevin Byard, Devin White, a lot of great defensive players. But the two guys at the top, T.J. Watt and Myles Garrett. If you asked me this last week, I would have agreed with you. I would have said T.J. Watt, but my mind was changed this week.
So, I didn't look at Myles Garrett's stat line from yesterday, but did he have a multi-stat game? Or
did you see the highlights?
No, I did not of this game.
He had a strip sack, scoop and score.
Okay,
so to me that is what.
Yeah,
that was his big moment. I also looked at. Let me see his game log. He had just the one sack, but yeah, he got the strip, went and picked it up himself, took it back to the end zone. But T.J. Watt is leading in sacks at 16. Garrett's at 15. Garrett does have the touchdown. But what also put it over the top for me is I went and looked at the pressure numbers. I think that's a very indicative stat of defensive ends. Sacks. A lot of times you make the best play on a pass rush, the quarterback gets away from you, and then somebody else, goes right into somebody else, So Myles Garrett is leading in pressures, so that is what set it over the edge for me because he's gotten to the quarterback more than anybody.
Yeah, and just looking at former winners of the award, I know I've said this before, but it's not a cornerback award by any means, not defensive back award. But Aaron Donald, 3-time winner, J.J. Watt, Khalil Mack won it one year as well. So we're going to have, history is going to be made with this award, which I think is really exciting. I think it'll be great for Myles or T.J. Watt to win it. And that's what I was going to say for Cooper Kupp as well. If Cooper Kupp wins, which I doubt he does, that's huge
he'd have to go on a tear.
Yeah, he'd have to have multi touchdown games to finish out the year. But
he'll definitely be the first. He'll definitely be the first white wide receiver to win it.
Yeah, that would be huge for Cooper Kupp's stock, and I don't know if he has re-signed with LA yet.
I can't remember.
I don't know if this is his.
I assume he's. I assume he's gotten a new contract since his rookie deal. I don't know for how long, but whatever it is, they're gonna have to pay a lot more the next time that comes up.
Yeah, I can probably pull up. He's still on his rookie deal. I think.
Wow! So it's the last year. But yeah, T.J. Watt and Myles Garrett are kind of in a sack off the rest of the year.
Pretty much, yeah.
Whoever leads the league in sacks probably gets it. I think, like I said, that just play for Myles Garrett was big, and then also, team success. Both of these guys, teams not in the playoffs, but if one of them does
well, let me ask you
make
this:
a run.
which player is helping their team the most? Because I think T.J. Watt's helping the Steelers the most. Because at least the Browns,
Yeah, I mean,
like you can work through Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and Baker Mayfield can maybe have a good game, maybe not. But the Steelers are well inconsistent on offense with Big Ben, Chase Claypool celebrating in the final 30 seconds of the game when they're trying to come back and win. I mean, the rookie running back who's had a couple of good games. I mean, T.J. Watt is kind of that do-it-all guy for Pittsburgh. He's the guy who is keeping Pittsburgh in games, I think. And Myles Garrett is too, I mean, for his sake. But, I mean, offensively for the Browns, they can rely on the run a lot more than the Steelers can rely on any sort of offense. So that's why I think, I mean, T.J. Watt is more of a, I mean, this starts getting into the debate of like, oh, is it like the best player or is it going to be the most valuable player? But, you know, whatever side of the coin you want to go with on that one, I mean, I think T.J. Watt impacts the team more, and he's the bigger difference maker than Myles Garrett, even though Myles Garrett is definitely a better player, is a great player. He's not a better player, I don't think, but.
I mean, yeah, it's certainly possible. I mean, I think they're at the same position. I would say I think the Steelers probably have some more talent on that defense. But, I mean, it's incredibly close. You know, I think somebody will probably, you know, run away with the edge over the end of the season. But it could be very close. And, I mean, you know, Micah Parsons not too far out, probably doesn't get it, though. And then MVP, we both agree on this. The odds agree on this. He is a slight minus favorite, but Tom Brady, he has the most yards in the league. He has the most touchdowns in the league. And he's got one of the best records in the league. So, you know, I mean, what can you say? And he's 44, if you want to throw that out there.
Yeah, I think 44 should be a stat that's thrown onto his year. And that's going to be the main focal point of his campaign for the award. I mean, the only player that could maybe contend for it if he absolutely goes off in these last 4 weeks is maybe Patrick Mahomes. But
Aaron Rodgers, I think he's got
maybe
the second
Aaron
best
Rodgers
odds.
as well. Because Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he's up there with touchdowns as well. He's not past the 30 mark, but
yeah.
And if the Bills had a better record, Josh Allen maybe would have a campaign towards it. But those are like the only. And notice how we're only saying quarterbacks, because if Derrick Henry was playing up until this point at the same rate, then Derrick Henry would
for sure
absolutely be in the conversation. But
100%.
That's the reason Tom Brady's winning this award, is because it comes down to quarterbacks. There's not a player, there's not a running back or a wide receiver that's putting on that historic of a performance to overtake MVP. I mean, the last non-quarterback MVP, I think, was AP in 2012. So
when he came 8 yards away from breaking
7-8 yards or whatever away from the record, Derrick Henry was going to be that next AP to win the award, I think. But it has to be a quarterback, because no one else is blowing, the world away with their stats. It has to be Brady, because he leads the league in yards and touchdowns.
But we've also seen, I mean, and I'm not trying to knock Derrick Henry, but Derrick Henry has been out, and the Titans still have one of the best records. And I think Derrick Henry is incredibly valuable, but I've said it with Aaron Rodgers, who I'm not picking, but I think he's in second place right now. I think it's down to those two, is that the best case for him was the game he did not play, because it's not a numbers case for him. It's just he elevates the Packers so much. The Packers without Aaron Rodgers.
That gets into the side of the conversation with most valuable. Yeah. And I would agree. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers is probably the most valuable player in the NFL.
And Brady's up there as well, because we've seen, obviously it's a bit of a different team now, but before he got there, they were a middling team. And so I think you take Brady away, doesn't look as good either. But yeah, I mean, if you're a quarterback and you lead in yards and touchdowns, you're a good bet to win the award. That's exactly what Brady's doing. And then the fact that he's 44. Yeah. So, I mean, it would be funny if at the end of the year we get Bill Belichick, Coach of the Year, Tom Brady, MVP. They match up in the Super Bowl.
That will get rid of
their minds.
That will absolutely get rid of this whole, was Brady really good, or was Belichick just a better coach, or vice versa? That's gonna
Yeah,
That's going to get rid of the entire conversation because if they're going to their best awards from their position on different teams, then that just puts it to rest.
Yeah, what about maybe they're both just really good?
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe the conversation was even brought up in the first place, recently. But yeah, maybe they're just both, the greatest of all time in their said positions.
Yeah. Let's get them. They should have their own little VIP room in Canton when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I've been in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. They should have their own they should have their own room that you have a tour on and things like that. They should have their own sector of the Football Hall of Fame.
They're different. They're different. If Tom Brady ever retires to be eligible for it. But
that's a different conversation. I don't know when he's going to stop playing.
Last thing before we go, previewing tonight's matchup, Monday Night Football, Rams at Cardinals. Breaking news I just got a few minutes ago. Jalen Ramsey and Tyler Higbee both will not play tonight because they're on the COVID list. So that obviously is a big hit for the Rams. I believe they're 2.5-point underdogs last time I checked. The Cardinals are the favorites to maintain their best record in the NFL. It's now 3, which is weird that Arizona's getting – it's moved a bit with this news. So, get it while it's hot. But, yeah, I mean, this is a marquee matchup here going on between these two NFC West teams. Yeah,
and I mean, so these are two of the best teams in the NFC facing off against each other, disregarding, Bucks, Packers, Cowboys. But few key stats stand out to me. I mean, obviously they're neck and neck with points scored per game. These are great offenses, but Arizona's defense has been on a tear with allowing only 18.7 points per game, which is fourth in the league.
Really, really good.
And the Rams are barely in the bottom half of the league with 22.5 points allowed, which is 17. So that sticks out right away because, I mean, who won the first game, right? It was Arizona. So Arizona has Kyler Murray back too. Is he 100%? We'll obviously see. But the passing yards, the Rams overtake them on that because Matt Stafford and, the arguably offensive player of the year are going to get that done. But
Cooper Kupp,
the Rams will get the yards for sure, but are they going to score against this defense is the thing. And I mean, even the Cardinals can run the football. They're a top 10 rushing offense. These teams don't keep the ball a whole lot, though. They kind of either score or have a 3 and out. And one team is a lot better at third down percentage, and that's Arizona, who's ranked 6th in the league. These are very, very close teams. And I think with the momentum behind them, I would take Arizona to win again because it's in Arizona, it's at home, prime time. I think this will be an entertaining game. I'm not going to say an all-out shootout Rams Chiefs in 20.
No, because the defense. I mean, there's defense game.
Yeah, and no Jalen Ramsey, like you said, definitely makes Kyler Murray more comfortable. That exposes the other half of the field because that's how you play against Jalen Ramsey. Just don't throw at him, but you can now throw anywhere you want and just avoid Aaron Donald.
Go to DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah. I mean,
I guess they have Von Miller as well this time, which they didn't against them the first time. So maybe that's a difference.
No, not the first time. And Odell.
So these are slightly different Rams team at least. Yeah.
And I believe Darrell Henderson is out. So Sony Michel will be taking over as the lead back. He's filled in, pretty well for them before. But yeah, I mean, the Rams are not trending in the right direction. They just beat the Jaguars last week in a very important game against the Jaguars. A must get back to what you're doing game. And the Cardinals are obviously, they've been through a lot, but they're still where they're at. The news with all the guys being out wants to make me switch, but I'm going to stick with the Rams. My main thinking here is these teams are both really good. They're going to split the season series. That's really what I'm thinking here. Hopefully the Rams, because the Rams, I mean, let's start getting ready for the playoff. LA, you need to start playing your best football now. So that's going to be really important for them. But yeah, I mean, I expect this to be a very close game. Another reason why I like the Rams is because they're getting the points, just 3, but it could be a very tight game, but should be good. And yeah, I mean, this goes a long way to saying what could happen in the playoffs, because the Cardinals, people still are reluctant to take them as seriously as the Packers and the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
But if they beat the Rams again, and even, I mean, especially if they're able to beat them, not a blowout, but not, a super tight game, then it's, I've already said it's time to start taking them seriously, but they're in that conversation, for good. They belong with those teams. So a lot riding for both of these teams.
So let me ask you real quick. Between these two teams, both these teams are going to be in the playoffs. I'll just say it right now. Between these two teams, who has a better playoff impact? Because I would think the Rams do, to be honest with you. But I think Arizona could beat them in the regular season like tonight, and probably I think they can go 2-0 against the Rams. But in terms of personnel, coaching experience, and just overall momentum, what happens to really, really hot teams when they go in the playoffs? Very seldom do they go to the Super Bowl. I mean, Kansas City Chiefs on Patty Holmes' MVP, they were one offsides call away from making the Super Bowl. I mean,
teams that get the bye go to the Super Bowl, though, a lot.
Sure, teams that get the bye go to the Super Bowl. I have the
they get that bye
with these teams.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I mean, I think the Rams could make a deep playoff run and probably make it to the NFC title. But
yeah, I need to see them turn it around.
I think the Cardinals could win a regular season matchup, because I'm just looking at what's his face from Sean McVay as a coach. I mean, he's been to the promised land before.
Yeah.
He does have the coaching experience over Cliff, but then again, Cliff is having a season, defining performance this year for him. So
I mean, you gotta get there for the first time. Everybody's,
these, we're not having the same primetime games that we did in the beginning of the year in terms of entertainment value. I think this could be the game that breaks that streak, and we could have a very, very entertaining game between two very, very good teams.
Yeah, I mean, me, I want to believe in the Rams to win the NFC. They were my pick at the start of the year. I need to see them do something differently than they've done this past month, because it's been their worst month of football yet. If they play up to their potential, I think they have the capability of being the best team in the NFC, but they haven't been doing that recently. Like I said, this could be the game where it gets right. This could also be the game where it falls apart. But yeah, and the Cardinals, they get that first seed. That is, much easier to do something dangerous. But that's going to do it for us today. We will be with you on Thursday to preview Week 15, and then we will be with you again to recap it Mondays and Thursdays. Keep it going as we get closer and closer to getting to the playoffs. More teams falling out, some teams clinching maybe. We'll see. But reminder that you can follow Dash Sports on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to keep up with what we're doing, as well as subscribe to the Dash Sports YouTube channel to see what we're doing over there.